Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on the Noon News. I'm Andrea Lutz. A Montana refugee resettlement group is working to possibly get Ukrainian refugees to Montana. We'll have those details ahead, but first. President Biden is working to gain support for his latest budget. So far, it's receiving pushback from both Republicans and Democrats. The GOP doesn't like the tax increases on wealthy Americans, while Democrats say it contains too much funding for the military. Ukrainians are hopeful a ceasefire is on the way as leaders meet with Russia and Turkey. This as Ukraine's forces have recaptured some ground around Kyiv. Missoula County Public Schools has shut down school water stations after results came back showing high levels of lead. Officials say they took immediate action in shutting down those water stations at schools that tested above 5 parts per billion. A business in Bozeman is finding answers for challenges for rural communities lacking in paramedic services. Best practices is pivoting, making fully mobile classrooms available to stimulate any training scenarios for future paramedics. And officials say this will create clinical opportunities in rural Montana. Residents of Big Fork may have to make some adjustments on their commute. The Bridge Street Bridge, which crosses over the Swan River on Montana Highway 35, will be temporarily closed through Thursday. Drivers will have to detour to Grand Drive. Red Lodge Mountain is planning on making improvements to its ski resort. Work begins this summer with the addition of a high-speed triple chair purchased from Alta Ski Area in Utah, and the Upper Miami Beach area will also be transformed with a carpet conveyor lift. And that is today's leading look.
Coming off a day yesterday with temperatures well above average, some of us actually seeing some records. Look at that. 60s and 70s. Jordan getting into the low 80s, you lucky devil. We saw a record tide at Livingston. Also down in Cody, I think we busted a record as well. Not the case today. Look at yesterday. Now look at today. Temperatures anywhere from the 30s, 40s, maybe even some 50s with rain and snow. The reason is, well, we're behind a cold front, dragging that cold air in from the north. There's that bad boy right there. It's dragging the moisture with it as we get into the afternoon. That will start to taper off. We're going to be dry for the most part on Wednesday, but maybe some more rain and snow on Thursday. We'll take a look coming up.
After U.S. forces pulled out of Afghanistan in late August, Missoula saw about 100 Afghan nationals resettle here. And although the situation in Ukraine is different than what we saw in the fall, the outcome could still be the same: displaced nationals resettling here in the States. Entering into the second month of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the Biden administration announced on March 24th that the United States will aid Ukrainians' humanitarian crisis by welcoming 100,000 Ukrainian nationals.
And my understanding is that they're sort of trying every means necessary to bring and help to bring folks over here.
The 4 main ways that we can see Ukrainians come to the U.S. are visitor visas, humanitarian parolees, family reunification programs, and the Ukrainian nationals who were granted refugee status before the war broke out.
We don't know any details yet in terms of when, how many, any of those details yet, but we're preparing for the fact that we likely will have. And we would of course look forward to welcoming those to Missoula.
The International Rescue Committee in Missoula has settled about 135 refugees over the past 6 months, more than any other year. Ukraine and Afghanistan refugees are just 2 examples of situations that call for fleeing nationals around the world. A reminder that fleeing your home country is more than just finding a safe place.
From family members to, of course, your home, to your culture, there's great trauma. Fear for life. Oftentimes it's war, but there are other reasons this could happen too. Famine, natural disaster, that people may need to flee their homes.
Fahey says that Afghan nationals have settled into Montana life well, and the best way to support Ukrainian refugees will be through financial donations to help with the resettlement process and housing. In Missoula, Hannah Hislop, MTN News.